Welcome back, round 3 of the Utden Troll Cup 2025. And we have again Thomas on his Waveshaper versus Walter, who is playing a Sorcerer. If you haven't seen the Waveshaper in action in game 2, I can highly recommend to watch it because it was a nail biter going back and forth with an epic ending. So that was really cool to see. Hey, Geoffrey, let's jump into the deck list. And the first one is the first sorcerer that we've seen in this casting. Let's go through it.
Yeah, finally some gas action. No, no more water here. This is an airfire list. Very, very aggressive. I think Sorcerer Airfire is probably one of the most aggressive archetype you can build. The idea is you keep a pretty low curve. I don't think there's any card above 5 mana here. And once you're on a 5-6 mana mark, you just double draw every turn with the Sorcerer ability and hope that like you're gonna deal enough damage to bring your opponent down pretty quickly.
Yeah, it seems just beat down as hard as you can. Only one infiltrate, 2 shadow strikes, go as fast as possible. We have Thomas's deck. We've shown in the last round also typical standard control one. Although control means having mixed aqua or for Waters of Paradise, trying to get the big minions out quickly. Questing Beast is then the lesser choice because you really want to have Mrs. Storm, Hydra, Green Knight, or even go up to Draconis, etc. Of course, we do have the cats and the turtles to slow things down. So yeah, let's see how this one goes. We will start the replay right now. And as always, Geoffrey, is there a favorite in this match? Who would you give the advantage to?
Yeah, I think I'd probably favor the Sorcerer Airfire here, though seeing the Waveshaper on the play kind of lessens that already. I think Waveshaper has a window if they can cheat out a big creature early on with a mix of full water. Maybe they have enough to like slow things down and bring the game to the mid-late game where hopefully their bigger creatures are gonna overcome the Sorcerer's, swarm of smaller creatures.
Mm-hmm. Having that core on turn one is a big acceleration together with being on the play. So if you are more the slower deck, that is actually a very nice start.
Yeah, we see Core on one side and then Tower, which happens to be the Crossroad EU promo, the Gothic Tower, played by Sorcerer, which allows him to accelerate the bat in turn one.
Yeah, I think those promos are such beautiful cards. You are the lucky one. You have all 3 of them because you won the Crossroads. So I'm still looking for 2 copies. It's a bit more difficult to get them. But yeah, perhaps if I can get to Las Vegas some days, I hope to find one. Turtles being cast with Pond, or in this case, perhaps without, because the core is there. He had the 3 mana, but yeah, Turtles, everything going according to plan from Thomas's side, it seems.
Yeah, Turtle's a great minion. It's pesky. It can threaten to trade against the small minions of Sorcerer. We're actually going to see the Turtle get in for damage here. So first blood has been drawn. And yeah, turn two from the Sorcerer was just taking, playing another site, moving the bat up, so a bit of a weaker turn. And Thomas is actually fully taking on the role of the beatdown here and playing a cat as a follow-up to the turtle, so bit of role reversal here.
Yeah, he's not messing around. But that is what you want to see. I'm now thinking, like, did he drew the cat? Would you play a turtle first? Ooh, and we have a desert pinging the turtle, attacking with the bat, and he deciding, I will block with the cat. But
Yeah, I think if you're Thomas here, you have to figure out that something is up.
yeah,
The turtle breaks the shields. Sorry, the desert breaks the turtle's shields. And then you're offering a trade, but obviously the cat is here to defend, so you have to second guess why are they giving me that bat for free? And the reason is a minor explosion as a follow up allows him to take both units as a result. Still a 2 for 2 in the end, right? You traded a bat and a minor explosion for a cat and a turtle. Unfortunately, the cat had a brother, and the brother is here to avenge the the fallen first cat.
Yeah, I mean, having a desert for a turtle and then attacking with the bats, I mean, he's not blind, right? The cat is there, so you have to know that if you would block with the cat, something is going to happen. And then I think I would just have accepted the trade. I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I mean, ultimately, it is a 2 for 2. Maybe both players were happy with that. Obviously, they know what's in their hand, so they might think, "Oh, I'm actually happy trading like for like here." And that's a pretty key card in the matchup that we see being played here. Angel's Egg is a great way to mitigate some of the chip damage that fire can do. It's not going to do much now because Waveshaper is still on 20, but assuming some of the damage is going to be dealt by the charge minions, the kobolds, imps, etc., that's a good way to quickly recoup some of that. It does mean we're lifting the foot off the gas pedal a little bit if you're Waveshaper. You had a
Definitely.
great turtle and cat and cat. And if you could follow up with another aggressive minion, you could really keep up the pressure. Egg is kind of opposite of that. Egg is saying, okay, I tried the early aggression. I didn't completely break through. Now maybe I'm setting up for a bit of a slower game plan with the egg.
4 damage came
Curious to
through,
see.
putting Water to 14. Of course, Sorcerer is what Sorcery does, and at a certain moment he will start drawing 2 cards a turn. And it's really difficult to follow that as the Waveshaper. You try to compensate with huge minions, but you still have to get all the mana in play. And I mean, he is drawing sides, tapping, so he's drawing all the spells as you should do. But I might get worried. Like, if we really go to mid to end game, like the Sorcerer will draw so many cards, it will become very difficult, I think, for the Waveshaper.
Yeah. And we saw the first Dragonet suiciding into the cat
Yep.
and then the brother. So it's really a tale of brotherhood avenging here. The second Dragonet is taking out the cat with the end of turn damage projectile. I would have liked to see the Dragonet on 13 here, however, because I'm not sure why playing it on 18 would be safer. I think you want it to be as close to the action as possible. So,
Yep.
yeah, maybe Sorcerer wary of something specific.
Yeah, I tend to agree. There was no reason not to place it on 13.
And it's worth noting, Waveshaper was on the play. However, they did take a couple turns off to draw sites, like tapping to draw sites, meaning that the Sorcerer is actually ahead on site development right now, which I wouldn't expect in the matchup. But I think it's a result of Thomas having a core opening, so willing to kind of, okay, I have some acceleration, can afford to take a turn off, and having some of the early aggressive plays.
Oh. We see the Dragonets firing 1 point of damage, but the egg healing back up to 20. And there is a Depril Vampire now. Always nice to cast. And I must say to what you were saying, Geoffrey, is like, that is the big benefit of playing Sorcerer. You don't have to think much about when do I draw the sides, because basically you always have the option to just draw sides or spells. So that makes life a little bit easier and an advantage for the Sorcerer.
And then we saw a mirror realm being played. I think it copied the river for another scry. And then that was it from the Waveshaper. There wasn't a turn 4 play. And I think we're seeing here the problem when you are trying to be the beatdown, but your deck isn't necessarily meant to be the beatdown. You've used all of your lower cost minions, like the cats at 3 mana, the turtle at 3 mana. You try to be the beatdown, your opponent stabilized, and now you have this gap where apparently you don't have a turn 4 or 5 play,
Oh,
presumably because you've drawn some of your higher end stuff. And that's the risk in trying to assume a role that maybe isn't yours to play in this matchup.
That's a great insight. I think Waveshaper still remains a control deck more if you want to have a chance to overpower with your bigger minions. So just stabilize, just hold on. But yeah, to my point earlier, like Sorcerer ultimately draws so many cards, and there is no draw mechanic in Walter's deck, in Thomas's deck. I think there is the manuscript, but that is only the one-off. And I
Yeah.
guess you rely on Mrs. Storm for full control. We see a nice peek at the hand. Draconis, a snowball. That is not something you want to reveal. And an old one. So Thomas is a bit unlucky between brackets to drawing all those very expensive minions. Because, yeah, there are 2 Hydras, 2 Mrs. Stormers, there's a Green Knight, Questing Beast, Sub-Save Simulacrum, all these like 5-6 part minions that you actually want to see first. On the other hand, I see that Vampire then is perhaps a potential target because we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana on the Waveshaper. Some damage got in, right? Another 4
Yep.
from the Vampire.
Vampire, which would bring the Sorcerer back up to 18. And a
Yeah.
bit weird, knowing about the snowball, I'm questioning why the kobolds are being placed in a nice line along with the dragonet and the scout. That feels like an easy snowball if you're Waveshaper here. But having a peek at the Waveshaper's hand definitely explains the couple of turns doing nothing, right? If your hand is a 7, an 8 mana drop, a snowball, which would require some setup to be effective, and a minion that really wants to benefit from its Genesis ability, the Bullfrog, I guess the best you can do is just pass the turn, right?
Yeah, completely. So
And I
here
think that,
we see that snowball.
yeah, easy snowball, right? It's a 3-for-1. You also deal some, not insignificant damage to the Sorcerer, bringing back down to 14. And then we're going to tap for a Tadpole Pole, if I'm not mistaken.
Free frogs, always handy to have them.
Yep. I think they're going to be represented by this die here.
Yeah.
Submerge, of course, at least for the time being. And then if the turn's been passed, I think the Angel Egg would have ticked up.
And that's correct. Back to 15.
Still a commanding position if you're the Sorcerer here. Yeah, you had to weather the 3-4-1 snowball, but you end up with a Vampire. That's always a feel-good moment. You can basically offset the damage you took from the snowball, and it's your turn, so it's up to you to deploy new threats that the Waveshaper will have to deal with.
And it feels a bit strange because you have seen it, Votten Draconis in its hands. So do you want to still keep your vampire on a water side, knowing that it might drown? On the other hand, here we see a Feast for Cross. So is it a Draconis that he will name, or is it something else?
Yeah, let's see. I'm not sure what has been named here. We're going through the deck. Let's see if we pick up a specific card or if we're just having a look. Obviously, having seen your opponent's hand, you could just go for a card that you know is in there. And that makes me feel like he might have gone for the Great Old One here. Either Great Old One or Draconis would be great choices. I think Draconis is a more immediate threat, but Great Old One is a more powerful threat, threatening a potential 16 damage.
Yeah, and also like flooding the whole realm, it's really a big advantage to the water deck. He's going back up, I think. So he took 4
Yes.
damage.
So I think the Vampire going to attack in,
Yeah.
which would bring the Sorcerer back up to 18. And then we have confirmation that we did not take the Draconis when casting Feast for Crows because it is now being played. right on top of the vampire.
Yep. And it immediately goes to the end of the turn, drowning the vampire.
And it looks like the frogs have split. There's now one that I assume means it's still below, and two have come up. So we consciously opted to go for the Great Old One as opposed to the Draconis. The Great Old One is more powerful. I'm talking about the Feast for Crows choice here. It is more powerful, but the Draconis immediately answers the vampire. So do we have an answer against the Draconis? Is that why we were happy to let it?
We saw an infiltrate in the hand when he showed this to us. And the Draconis is only a 6-part minion, so you can probably take 6
Yeah.
damage and infiltrate it, whereas the old one, 16 damage, that is just way too dangerous.
Yep. It's a good
So,
point.
5 damage being dealt to Thomas.
Yes, and it's getting low. That egg is gonna help. That you know what's gonna help? A ring is also gonna help.
Yeah, so he went back to 8.
Oh, you know what's gonna help? A second egg is gonna help. So we have found all of our healing if we're Thomas, which feels great to see in this matchup.
And an egg cast underwater is actually very difficult to remove.
Yeah. We're also gonna see a bullfrog, which on cast will get rid of the Vilimp. The Vilimp would have been pinged the first time on casting the egg. And then the Bullfrog's Genesis ability means it's going to disable the Surrican Raiders. So, yeah, that was a total of 2 ring pings, and then we're going to see 2 Angel Egg triggers at the end of the turn. We are leaving the Angel Egg submerged and bringing Draconis up. So, a bit of extra safety for that egg being underwater. And now the tides have turned a little bit, pun intended, because the Sorcerer doesn't really have a board presence. We could get something back if we get rid of the frog. Do we have an answer to Draconis? That could be a lot of damage very quickly. We do. Yeah, let's infiltrate that you spotted. Very observant eyes. We have the answer. We're willing to use it on Draconis. And then we have a lightning bolt that's being played on the bullfrog. I don't think they rolled to see which unit it would hit, so maybe a bit of a rules mishap here.
Yeah, I think the Raiders were under the bullfrog. Yeah, it's a common mistake then to just kill it. But both are actually on the side if they are even in the bullfrog's belly. So yeah, they
Yeah,
should have rolled to die for it.
the belly thing is flavor text. The both units still exist and are both present on the site. That will free up the raiders, who will immediately attack for 3 damage. And then after that, at the end of the turn, the Angel Egg will bring it up to 11. So it's gonna be hard to outrace 2 Angel Egg and a ring if we're Sorcerer here.
That is so much healing. Every spell you cast is alive, and basically every turn back to you is 4 life. So yeah, and when I look at the deck list, there's 1 disenchant in Wouter's deck, so that is not a lot. And it's not Earth, so there is no way to search it, whatever. It's really you just have to draw it, and until that, a lot of life is gained. Now, infiltrate on Draconis means, and we see him going underwater, so searching for an egg. So that is potentially why I decide, like, hey, I will not use it for damage yet. Let me steal that egg back, and yeah, he could also use it if he brings it onto his own side. He will start gaining those lives instead.
Yeah, I think recognizing that, we need to cut the healing sources if we're Sorcerer here, because it's going to be really hard to outrun all of that. Yes, Draconis could attack one time and then revert back to its owner. But I think at this point, with that much healing, it's going to be hard to outrace that. And then we see we see more dice being played on the table. It looks like a frog has moved over, and now there are two chilling on top of the tadpole pool.
So I think he went back up to 13. 2 eggs.
Yep.
Raiders untapped. But apart from just moving around some frog dice, nothing happens.
No, I don't think we saw anything else. I wonder what's in the hand if you're Waveshaper here.
Okay.
Could be some conditional removal. A snowball could be it. I guess snowball wouldn't be great here.
Ooh, that is a lot of damage actually. We see a warhorse taking a lion with him because lions, although they're king of the animal world, they cannot attack. They can only attack other minions. So he takes it with him to start attacking the avatar.
Yep.
Getting 4 damage in.
It's going to be +2 with the warhorse. That would be a total, down to 7. And here... So this is interesting, right? On 7, Draconis could attack the site and bring it down to 1.
Yeah.
But we've used all of our mana if we're Waveshaper. And bringing it down to 1, still facing 2 eggs in a ring, we think is not good enough,
No.
at least.
Too dangerous.
And so we're deciding not to break stealth and only bringing up the egg. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I kind of understand it because there is not many ways actually that infiltrate or that stealth can be removed, and if you have so much damage in your deck, you're getting there. And like you probably value getting 1 egg away that dramatically changes already the pace of how much life he's gaining, and then you just draw, hopefully getting that damage in. So yeah.
Actually, I noticed we lost one of the die. So I think the lion's attack was blocked by a frog.
Correct. Okay.
Meaning Thomas is actually on 13 here.
Yeah, you're right.
It's pesky die.
Yeah, one frog blocked the raiders, and you're right. Oh, the other frog blocked the lion. So at 13. So much going on in this game. Wow.
Yeah, it's just, just look at that site where the Waveshaper is. You can barely tell how many cards are on there. And there's another one being played. I think that's a 4 Waters of Paradise, and really not what you want to see at this stage of the game.
No.
You're in the late game. You already have tons of mana. You get a ring ping out of it, which is great because you cast a 4 Water and then you cast a Stormy Sea. You get to ping both pings on the Warhorse.
Yep.
The Warhorse would have died anyway because the Storming Sea is being played on location 8, killing the Raiders.
But back at 15 life. And then I guess going to 17.
I believe we've tapped the lion as well on our turn.
Okay.
Meaning that we're really cutting down on like the sources of, but I think we might have found the answer if we're the sorcerer here.
Wow,
because that step up can only mean one thing. This is the one card we did not want to see. We have to read it twice to make sure. This is a disenchant. It's going to destroy all of the artifacts and auras 2 steps away, so where the Waveshaper is. And that location that was stacked is now a lot cleaner.
And also it means like he had 3 sources of life. 1 egg was disenchanted, the ring was disenchanted, and now the other egg is stolen. So going from all the life gain you want to nothing, that is a big swing, that 1 disenchant.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing the egg on our side, if we're the sorcerer, means we're also going to 19 at the end of the turn, because we're now benefiting from the X triggers. The egg not caring about who is carrying it, the only thing it cares about is who's the owner of the site it's on.
Yeah, and there is probably not really a way to get that egg back. So what is the win condition? Like he really needs to have like the Hydra and the Storeworms have to come now because yeah, uh, how otherwise will you be able to outpace 2 cards a turn?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the hard job here if you're the Waveshaper. You've also lost 2 of your big minions, right? Draconis is currently being controlled by your opponent, and Feast for Crows came to take out your Great Old One. So you're kind of relegated to the level down, which is the Hydra and the Master Storeworm.
And we saw he grapple shots, and wow, he just goes for it, just like 5 damage. Oh,
Yeah, that's surprising. It's a total of 5 damage just from the grapple shot. Obviously, the Jihad buffing the lions means it's going to benefit from the additional damage.
but I think I saw glyphs of a heat ray. He still has a stealthed 6-part minion, and is at 20 life again also.
Yeah, I think we realize we've cut all the sources of
Yeah,
healing, and so now we can start using the burn spells to actually, go face.
sure. We saw a Riptide cost to put or place the line somewhere else, not under the Jihad.
Yep. I mean, I think drawing is probably the more important part here, and it looks like we found Pirate Ship. That's a good blocker.
And yeah, the Riptide places the mountain line there, so at least he can now kill it with the pirate ship. Because otherwise he should trade under the Jihad, so that makes sense as well.
Yep. Draconis could come defend if that's the case, but then you'd give Draconis back to your opponent if you're Vouter here.
Yeah, which is funny because you can directly use it to submerge the line as well.
Yeah. Are we going to see this double Agent Draconis come into action, or is it just going to be a pacifist, an egg holder? Okay, that's one way to get rid of bigger minions if you're the Sorcerer. Great Famine is one of your couple pieces of unconditional removal, meaning that it's going to remove minions regardless of how much power they have. The other pieces being the Infiltrate that we saw already.
Yeah, the
And
Great
Highland.
Famine, what an amazing card. Such a premium piece of removal. Always good because you have the flexibility to cast it somewhere where it always benefits you.
Yeah, it's really, really good card. Even if you don't have synergies like ways to tap your opponent's minion so that you can get a 2-for-1 because you're gonna keep it going a couple turns. Literally, if it's just a 1-for-1, it's already so good.
Yeah, and even here, I mean, a Falconer, it did its job right. It went to get a bet, so you might even consider moving in. Now, of course, here there is a bridge, so that is not what you want to do, but you have the option to keep it alive longer than perhaps sometimes one would suspect. And it does force your opponent to think about it, to where, like for now, yeah, he has to place Hydra perhaps
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah, at worst, Great Famine or Black Plague, they're going to remove a minion, so it's going to be a 1-for-1, and it blocks some options for your opponent's next turn because obviously they don't want to keep it going for you, right? So that's 4 sides where they can't place a minion. So it's a removal and a nuisance, I guess. And in best cases, you can get multiple minions going, or you can lock down an area of the board for like 2, 3, 4 turns. Great card.
I saw a glimpse of a minor explosion in hands. Ooh, and he decides to, hey, you may discard a card if you like.
Yep.
And
Troll Bridge is here.
I presume they play with the same rules as on the Crossroads, so there is no new information, so you are allowed to take it back. And that's what we see here, because I don't think he would ever discard a card. But he does want to get damage in under a Great Famine, attacking with the pets.
Yeah. That's interesting. So we're really trying to push for damage here, and we're willing to sacrifice the bat to the Great Famine.
Yeah, but
Um,
you have Draconis for 6, you have Mine Explosion in hand, so that's already 9 damage, right? You're one off. So there is I mean, if he would just attack with the Falconer, discard a card, put him to 9, attack with the Draconis and Mine Explosion, that is that Zor.
yeah. Yeah. That's a great point, actually. Maybe it is worth discarding for this pesky 1 power minion.
Well, I
So,
think if I want to do it, then I want to have another finisher. But if I remember, I think that was like, yeah, there we see the heat ray. So actually,
Ray.
he
Yeah.
has everything in hands.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if we're trying to play it safe, not give back. Well, never mind. I was going to say not give back Draconis right away. But we're going to see the swing. Double Agent Draconis finally being activated here.
Oh, and he's going for the heat ray instead. That's a
Okay,
bit
interesting.
surprising. Or is he? Yeah, he cannot cast
Bring
a
it
Mine
down to
Explosion.
2. Ooh, that's why. So we have
Okay.
another way to bring Death's Door this
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
without burning the minor explosion. So it's actually some really nice sequencing from Wouter here. He's deciding, okay, I know I can bring Thomas to Death's Door.
Yeah,
Which spell would I rather hold after that in order to finish the game?
yeah.
Is a minor explosion better than a heat ray? Yeah, I think most people would probably consider that. It's hard to say.
And now it's always a bit difficult for water. Like you are in this mind state, like I just won. I have a Mine Explosion in hand. Basically, you cannot teleport to anywhere on the board because everything is 2 steps away. So yeah, it's all fine. Like just sacrificing the kobolds. Let me see Thomas trying to take one last attempt to get something going, removing the minions, but he probably knows what is coming.
Yeah, we saw the kobolds versus the Great Famine. So they're both end of turn triggers, but as the active player, you decide how you order your effects, and so you do get the kobold strike before they die to the Great Famine. And we're trying to survive here. If we're Thomas, we're gonna
So
try and pile up on this site and bring a Ruler of Thule, maybe as like an extra bolt protection.
yeah, you want to. There are always so many cards, but here we see it and the handshake. Great game. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Walter. So back to us. This was our third round, Waveshaper versus Sorcerer. I really enjoyed it. I thought the Waveshaper was off to a great start, going his way with the core tempo. I think perhaps that's first one, that sacrifice of the cat, potentially somewhere there. It started to shift a little bit, but a good game. Right, thanks, Jeffrey. Let's jump into round number 4, where things get tougher because we have an Archimago on one side and we have a Steam Druid on the other side. So happy to see that we don't have all lined up with Archimagos, but it has to be there. So this is a classic matchup that you know pretty well, I guess.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
All right, stay tuned for next round and we will be back with more sorcery content.